Great anticipation on the ground. What are the scenes like at the moment?
Pretty much like yesterday, lots of police around, police vans, water cannons on the other side, together with the barbed wire. Police, we are told, are taking no chances, especially after that incident yesterday. But we have also gotten some information from some of the activists that they too will be seeking to get whatever opportunity they can get to actually make their point, even to embarrass and humiliate the deputy president, because they do feel that he has blood in his hands. But from a procedures point of view, or what's going to happen now, of course, chief among the people who will be interrogating, cross-examining the deputy president will be Mvoko, who will be seeking to make that link between the emails, the conversations that Cyril Ramaphosa had with the ministers at the time, the ministers of police and the minister of mineral resources, and of course what happened, which was the killing of those workers. Whether in fact he'll be able to make that stick, of course, remains to be seen.
Advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza taking a trip down memory lane yesterday, bringing to the fore the fact that Mr. Ramaphosa has a history as a unionist, that he was a chief or a very impeccable negotiator, but somehow Mr. Ramaphosa for this occasion downplaying that, saying it was a collective achievement when it comes to his days as a unionist and as a negotiator. Perhaps because Mr. Ntsebeza was driving home the fact that Mr. Ramaphosa should have known better. Speak to us about the dynamics.
Well, I think Mr. Ramaphosa, skilled and, as he is in these sorts of things, knew exactly that there was a possibility that Advocate Ntsebeza would lead him down a garden path. He knew that he was onto something. He was building a case. And I don't think there are prizes for guessing what it is, more or less, that he was trying to do. Advocate Ntsebeza was trying to say, there you were, a director at Lonmin, but with all your history, with all your knowledge, but perhaps most importantly, with the kind of skill that brought us where we are as a country today under very difficult conditions. He reminded them that there were at least 2 massacres at the time, but that didn't stop Mr. Ramaphosa to go and sit with the ANC's arch enemy at the time, which was the apartheid government. So why then would he insist, Mr. Ramaphosa that is, that he was in a perfect storm and therefore couldn't exercise the kind of responsibility that was expected of him? So Mr. Ramaphosa was clear about what Mr. Ntsebeza was trying to do. Hence, he wouldn't even sort of accept those accolades because he knew what exactly he was trying to do. Did Advocate Ntsebeza succeed in painting that picture of, if you like, an even irresponsible Cyril Ramaphosa, or someone who perhaps had more direct and different interests to the kind of Cyril Ramaphosa who negotiated a new South Africa prior to 1994? Well, I think at the output end, when the commission ends, we will see whether Judge Falam, or whether that conversation struck a chord in Judge Falam's eyes.
Vuyo, you mentioned a little bit earlier that Advocate Mvoko gets his turn now to get some answers from Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. If you could look into your crystal ball, could you tell us what you foresee perhaps would be some of the points that he'll try to hit home on today?
Well, I think he's going to continue pretty much along the lines of Advocate Ntsebeza, as well as the Legal Resources Centers, Tembeka, Ngukaitobi. In other words, unless, of course, they have information that has so far not come before the commission, I think it's going to be very difficult to make that direct link. But a combination of things like, character, the emails, and perhaps the conversations that, for example, Jeff Butlander, who is the evidence leader, brought to the fore around the police, that the police were in fact not driven by anything other than the desire to actually deal with, shall we say, the enemies of the state. Because, how else do you really describe, or how do you characterize the conversation between Commissioner Mbombo and the executives of Lonmin? And I think Dalimpof is going to continue along those lines, but perhaps with trying to zoom in and really try and pin the deputy president down to say, you knew exactly that if we were to lean on people, yes, you may not have had to say so directly. In other words, in your conversations, you may not have said, I am going to make these people do this or that, but you knew that when you spoke, they will act accordingly, as the conversations of Mbombo do sort of point to.
Vuyo, one would expect Mr. Ramaphosa to be a little bit hot under the collar with everything that's happening. He did try to maintain his composure, but I want to take a look at what's playing out outside of the Marikana Commission of Inquiry now. Murmurings that South Africa could be ready for a female president. We're hearing that from several quarters of late. That with regards to what's happening in the commission. Do you think he should be concerned at all about any presidential bid?
Well, look, there's definitely a lot going on in his mind right now. For example, it goes without saying that here at the commission, he is certainly not going to have a joyride. I think people like Dalimpof are determined to make sure that he doesn't have a joyride. But now, as you say, put that alongside exactly what you were saying, where the calls, you have more and more calls from people who are saying, it's time we look at a woman as a president. Look, Cyril Ramaphosa didn't leave his business empire to go and be the deputy president of the ANC and of the country to stay there. In other words, to be number two. It goes without saying that he would want the ultimate prize. And the ultimate prize is to be president of the ANC and to be president of the country. So these murmurings and all these conversations going on now that at some point very soon are going to reach fever pitch are definitely going to unsettle him. Yes, he's not going to show it because he is clever at that. He's been able to maintain that smile. He never talks loudly. He's able to maintain his composure, but deep inside, in his own mind, having to put up with what is happening at this commission now and having to actually contend with the fact that there are all these noises emerging more forcefully than ever before, that perhaps we need a woman as a president. They're definitely going to do something in his mind that's not going to make him rest.
We're living in Vuyo. Thank you so much for that update. Vuyo Mvoko coming to us live from the Marikana Commission of Inquiry, which resumes today.